We have seen Electricity Regulatory Authority. We have seen Post and Telegraph Regulatory Authority. We have seen Telecom Regulatory Authority. We have seen several regulatory authorities. What is the primary role of a regulatory authority? What does a regulator do? Regulator regulates. What does he regulate? With the Telecom Regulatory Authority, the regulator decides the tariffs. With the Electricity Regulatory Authority, the regulator decides the rate at which the electricity can be given to the consumer. With the Ports Regulatory Authority, the regulator decides what is the rate at which the ships can be docked in the port. At the Airport Regulatory Authority, the regulator decides at what rates the planes can be parked. Now, Real Estate Regulatory Authority, what was it expected to do? It was expected to make real estate within the reach of a common man. For that, what it needs to be done is to regulate the prices of real estate. Does the real estate authority have a right to regulate prices of the real estate? Answer is no. So, what is the regulator going to regulate? Regulator is only going to regulate the contract, the agreement between the builder and the buyer, and ensure that the builder fulfills the points mentioned in the contract vis-a-vis the buyer. It is very common knowledge that when you go to buy a flat, the builder produces an agreement before the buyer, and the buyer wants to get a good price. The regulator is not supposed to interfere in what price the buyer is going to get and what price the builder is going to sell, because that is not part of the regulatory authority's mandate itself. Therein lies the major flaw in the regulatory authority. The only primary job of a regulator is to regulate the rates and prices, which is kept out of the purview of the regulator. So what does he do? The builder, when a buyer goes, the builder produces certain documents which the buyer is supposed to sign. Does the buyer get a chance to revise those documents? Answer is no. What the builder writes in this document, does the buyer in most cases understand? Answer is no. Most probably he goes there in front of the registrar and that's where he just signs the document. Because the document is wholly and completely one-sided in favor of the developer, because the developer produces it before the buyer and the buyer signs. And then the RERA is supposed to be an authority which is supposed to implement the clauses signed by the developer and the buyer. If the developer doesn't implement those clauses, why would the developer not implement those clauses? Because most of the clauses are in favor of the developer. The buyer has no say in what agreement is made. So if a developer admits to certain points vis-a-vis the buyer and then defaults on the point, only then the RERA comes into the picture. So the RERA's role is very limited. If you define the role of a regulator overall as to what a regulator should do to make housing affordable to the people, out of 100 points, the RERA is authorized to act only maybe on 10 or 15 points. So 85% of the requirements of a regulator that should have been there are not there within the purview of RERA. I agreed to be a part of this seminar because it talks about the evolving law. We want this law to be evolved, to evolve further and give more powers to RERA to incorporate such things within RERA which are presently not there. All the chiefs of RERA, including the chairman of the Maharashtra RERA, Authority has written to the government that the powers given to RERA or the scope of RERA needs to be expanded. And continuous reminders to these letters have been given to government. So far, nothing has been done. But unless there is pressure on the people, on the government from the people, these changes are not likely to happen. Why is there no pressure? A simple thing. Take a city like Mumbai. The other cities are lesser than Mumbai. So let's take an extreme case of a city like Mumbai. What is it that Mumbai does with a V to real estate? How many flats are sold every year in Mumbai? Any guess? Forget the pandemic this year because hardly 6 or 7,000 flats have been sold. But in the best of years, 20,000 flats get sold. So if 20,000 flats get sold, what is the population of Mumbai? The population of Mumbai is 1 crore 25 lakhs, out of which how many people are affected by RERA? 20,000 people who buy flats, which means less than 0.01% of the population. And what is RERA supposed to achieve? It's supposed to achieve affordable housing. It's supposed to achieve housing for all. If it doesn't affect more than 20,000 people in the city of Mumbai out of 1 crore 25 lakhs, how is it supposed to achieve all the objectives that it is supposed to achieve? No, it cannot. It is only when a developer says, I shall give you a flat within 2 years, and then he defaults. If he says, I shall give you X quality, and he doesn't give that quality. Incidentally, in none of the agreements with the builder does the builder promise the quality. And finally, what happens in this entire thing is that the buyer who buys from the builder, only he can go to the authority. Again, coming back to the example of Mumbai, Mumbai doesn't have vacant lands anymore. Whatever the lands in Mumbai are there have been occupied. They are either occupied by cooperative housing societies held by private individuals. The cooperative housing societies, we have 45,800 cooperative housing societies. We have 1 million people living on MADA lands. We have 7 million people living on slums which occupy 12.5% of Mumbai's land. We have 1 million people living in quarters given to the employees by the respective employers. We have another 1 million people living in MADA colonies. And we have 2.5 million people living in old and dilapidated cest buildings. So, who is the builder going to address? First, he needs land. And if he needs land, he has to take land from these various people who are presently occupied land because vacant land is not available in a city of Mumbai. And there are people living. All the residents of Mumbai, that is 1 crore 25 lakh people, are living on the land which the builder takes, redevelops, and sells the flat. But in those schemes, the flats which are sold by the builder, the buyers have a right to protection from RERA, but the original residents of the land on which the people are living have no protection of any nature whatsoever from RERA. So the law, I was the one who insisted from day one that we need a regulator for the real estate. And the regulator came, we welcomed it. But the scope that was given to the regulator was so restricted that the regulator doesn't make any difference to either the city of Mumbai or to the residents of Mumbai. If at all it makes any difference, it makes difference to the 10 or 20,000 people who buy flats from the developers. So in a city of 1 crore 25 lakhs, if 20,000 people are affected by RERA, you cannot say that RERA is beneficial to all concerned. We have to make it beneficial to all concerned. And for that, what is required is to, to enhance or widen the scope of RERA, to incorporate all those within the purview of RERA whose lands are being occupied for redevelopment. We also need to ensure that the prices are kept in certain amount of control. I'm not for reducing the prices or telling the builder, no, you can't sell at this price, you can't sell at that price. But assuming a builder informs the RERA by giving his balance sheet that I am going to sell a particular flat at 20,000 rupees per flat. Who is telling this? Not me, not the authority, not the activist, not the expert. The builder is telling. Now, if builder has informed the government that he is selling a particular flat at a particular price, if a consumer sees this averment by the builder and goes to the builder and say, okay, you have informed the government that you are selling the flat at 20,000 rupees per square feet. I want to buy it at 20,100 rupees per square feet or 20,000 rupees per square feet, the price at which you want to buy. Is he entitled to buy? Can the RERA tell the builder, you are selling it at 20,000? Mr. Prabhu wants to buy it at 20,000, give it to him? No, the RERA doesn't have the right. The only right RERA has is to go through the agreement, which is completely one-sided. There have been innumerable Supreme Court judgments which have said that the agreements between the buyer and the seller being the builder and buyer being the new person who doesn't have a home who wants to buy, cannot be one-sided. It has to be balanced either way. When the Supreme Court, time and again, the latest judgment came only 2 days ago, when the Supreme Court said that the agreement between the builder and buyer is one-sided and hence it doesn't follow the principles of equity which are required under the Constitution of India. And on this ground alone, it being one-sided, we set the agreement aside and the buyer should be given what were his. It's a separate case. It's a case in Gurgaon. I shall not go into it. But what I'm trying to emphasize is time and again, Supreme Court in successive judgments has been telling the government, both at the center and at the state and in various judgments, that agreements between the builder and the buyer cannot be one-sided. But there is no model agreement that government makes and tells the builder that, look, these are the rights of the buyer which you need to incorporate in your agreement. If you don't incorporate, then that agreement will not be considered because it will then be one-sided, and Supreme Court has ruled that one-sided agreements are not permissible. That has not been done. So what does the RERA do? That it just becomes a timekeeper. If in the agreement the buyer has paid the money and the developer has said that if you pay the money, then I will give you flat on X day. And if he has not given, then RERA says, okay, if he has not given, either give the money back to him or give him interest. Builders in Mumbai are extremely happy with this situation. Please understand. Under the RERA, if the builder doesn't give the flat on time, and RERA says you give the money back, builders are happy. Because if they give the money back, they have to give at 9% interest the money that they have taken. All builders in Mumbai borrow from the market at 2% interest per month that is 24% per annum. So when you are borrowing at 24% per annum for your project, here, if you take money from the buyer and don't give him a flat, then you tell him you take your money back with interest at 9%. Even then, he stands to gain 13% because instead of buying from the market, he gets unsuspecting buyers and promising them the world and then doesn't agrees to give them the money. So we need, this law needs to evolve. This law needs to cater. Whom should it cater? The person who doesn't have a house. Whom should it cater? The person who doesn't have adequate shelter. The government's avowed policy is housing for all. The government's avowed policy is affordable housing. What is affordable housing? Let us not go by international definitions of affordable housing. Let us not go by United Nations definition of affordable housing. Let us not go by World Bank's definition of affordable housing. Let us go by the definition of the Indian government on affordable housing. The Government of India, Planning Commission, Niti Aayog, all agencies of the Government of India, the Housing and Urban Development Department has time and again said that what is affordable? 5 years annual income of a person or a family. Within that amount, if you get a house, then the house becomes affordable because then the installments for that particular flat that is bought become affordable, because if within 5 years annual income it is there, then the EMIs are such that after paying the EMI, you can take care of your family. Let us take Mumbai as an example. I'm sorry because I come from Mumbai. I would like to take Mumbai as an example because it's an acute situation where there is housing shortage and tremendous amount of demand. Other cities may vary. I have done detailed studies of all the cities in Maharashtra, and I have my students who are doing their PhD and master's degree under my guidance have been kind enough to do detailed studies about all the cities. But let me now talk about Mumbai alone. The cheapest, the cheapest possible house anywhere in Mumbai is not below the price of 12,000 rupees to 13,000 rupees per square feet. Now, 12,000 rupees per square feet, you get it in Dahisar or Bhandup or, godforsaken places where many people don't go, far away from the railway station, no communication means, a little difficult to, even there it is 12 to 13,000 rupees per square feet. Near a railway station, anywhere in Mumbai, the prices are 20,000 rupees per square feet. So a decent house, even in the farthest corners of Mumbai, at 12,000 rupees per square feet, a decent house of 600 square feet at 12,000 rupees per square feet would still be 75 lakhs of rupees. Now divide that amongst five. So that means in 5 years, your earning should be 75 lakhs of rupees, which means 15, if it is 15 lakhs of rupees per year, which means 1,10,000 or 1,20,000 rupees per month if you earn, only then you can afford a house in Mumbai at the remotest corner. Forget the better areas where the prices increase. So in the remotest corner of Mumbai, if you need to afford a house, the house comes in at a price of 75 lakhs of rupees, and your earning to service such a house has to be 1,10,000 or 1,20,000. Now, how many people in Mumbai earn 1,20,000? The income tax payers, the income tax department has made its statistics very clear that those who earn more than 12 or 15 lakhs of rupees per annum in Mumbai are not even 2% of Mumbai's population. If 2% of Mumbai's population can afford a house, then can we make housing for all? Can we make housing affordable? The government knows very clearly what is the price at which the land has been bought. The government knows very clearly what is the rate of construction. The government knows very clearly at what rate the money has been borrowed by the developer. So, the cost of the land, the cost of borrowing, the price of construction, the price of paying all the professionals, the price of paying all the duties and taxes and premiums and all that, and load on that a profit 25%, 30%, 35%. I'm not against a builder making profit. But could there be some upper limit wherein you cannot go beyond? I know of lands in Mumbai which were government lands in Powai and other places which were given to developers several years ago at 5 rupees, 6 rupees a square feet. The cost of construction, as a senior architect who has been teaching architecture all my life, is not beyond 3,000 rupees per square feet. I'm talking of the upper limit. All the premiums put together will not go beyond maybe 2,000 or 3,000 rupees per square feet if you take the average, including TDRs and all that, because TDR, there is a free FSI and there is a FSI for which you pay the TDR, so it evens out. Now, tell me if the land, the cost of borrowing, the cost of construction, the cost of premium, the cost of TDR, everything put together comes to around, say, 8,000 rupees a square feet. And if a developer is charging 35,000 rupees a square feet, you think that is going to create affordable housing in this city? So the regulator is not supposed to ask the developer what the price is and why the price is at that price. So the law needs to evolve. All over the world, the definitions are left to the experts, the architects, the engineers. The definition of carpet area and built-up area are known to the professionals. What is a carpet area? You go inside a room and measure the length of breadth. That is the carpet area of that room. You measure all the rooms in a flat, including the toilets from inside and the passages, and add all the carpet areas of the room. That becomes the carpet area of the flat. This was the conventional definition all along. I have been teaching architecture for 35 years, and all along, this has been the definition which we have been teaching. All over the world, this has been the definition. However, the Maharashtra RERA finds a new definition. How can the authorities and the government change the definition of carpet area? It says within a flat, there are walls. So the area under the wall should also be counted in the carpet area. That is never there in the definition. The definition of the carpet area says you go in a room from wall to wall, measure the length and breadth. Length multiplied by breadth is the area of that room. Now, wall to wall, that's what a carpet is, where the carpet can go. Carpet cannot go under a wall. But RERA says no. Where the wall is, consider wall also as a part of the carpet area. Why did this say that? Because the new RERA carpet area is at least 6 to 8% more than the conventional carpet area. So on one hand, you insist that the builder should be paid as per the carpet area. On the other hand, you insist that the builder in his agreement should mention the carpet area. And then you change the definition to of the carpet area to bring it to halfway down between carpet and built up and say this is a new carpet area called RERA carpet area. When I go in universities abroad and narrate these instances, they laugh. They say like length and breadth can't change, like foot and meter can't change because it's a universal way of measurement. Similarly, universal way of measurement of carpet and built up area is simple. Carpet area is where a carpet can be laid within the flat, whether toilet, whether passages, whether bedroom, whether living room, wherever. Wherever a carpet can go is a carpet area. Wherever carpet can't go, you include that becomes a built up area. Now, that difference between carpet and built up, which a layman also understands, unfortunately, the powers that we don't understand or are pressurized into not understanding. So, my contention, at least the definitions, leave it to experts. Don't leave it to the builders. Don't leave it to those who benefit out of it. If you really want to make affordable housing, if you really want to make laws to make universal housing affordable for all. Housing for all is what the Prime Minister says. Housing for all is what the Housing Department says. Housing for all is what the Niti Aayog says. Then leave the definition, at least don't alter the definition to benefit someone. I told the Chief Secretary of the government of Maharashtra in a public meeting in front of everybody. I said, sir, you are the highest paid bureaucrat in the state and perhaps the country. Knowing by your pay scales, one can easily deduct that you must be getting somewhere around 2 lakhs of rupees per month as your salary, including perks and allowances. Now, at 2 lakhs of rupees per month, your annual salary would be 24 lakhs of rupees. Your 5-year salary will be 1 crore 25 lakhs of rupees. If a chief secretary's 5-year salary is 1 lakh 25, 1 crore 25 lakh rupees, I asked the chief secretary with humility, let me ask you humbly, the area in which you live, can you get a garage in 1 crore 25 lakhs of rupees within the price? So if a highest paid bureaucrat in the state of Maharashtra cannot afford a house in the area where he likes to live after his retirement, then can the housing be affordable to the common man? If a person employed in a software company, a software engineer who earns a lakh of rupees, lakh and 25, if he doesn't get a flat in that city for 75 lakhs or 1 crore of rupees, then can he afford a house? So, affordability of housing, making housing affordable, if that is one of the aims and object of the law, which it is, to make real estate smooth, RERA is not there to fill the pockets of the builders. Builders are one of the players and their interests have to be safeguarded. There is no doubt about that. They are every player in this game, his interest has to be safeguarded, but you can't discriminate one against the other. So you need to take a holistic look of the entire situation. And unless you really understand the problem, unless you understand the problem in its entirety, you do not find a solution. And unless you find a solution, the, the demand is going to outstrip the supply, the market is going to be skewed, and the common man, the middle class, the young person, the new graduate, the doctor, the engineer who have taken education and they are upcoming and emerging, who need a house. In a city like Mumbai, there is no way in which where they can even dream a house. Forget Mumbai, even in places like Pune, the kind of commuting that you have to do, because houses are available, but they are available far away. You need to go beyond the highway, sometimes, way beyond. I have seen people live so far away from their residences and they have to commute up and down, taking 1 hour, 1.5 hour to commute between the place. And then there is traffic jams, there are accidents, and there are major things. So what is really affordable housing? What is really adequate shelter? Adequate shelter is adequate space, good quality of space, good environment, good means of construction, and good access to place of work and worship. Transportation, environment, space, and a chance to increase the quality of space, including incremental housing. See, when a husband and wife decides to buy a house, they have just married, so one bedroom, all kitchen does for them. Then they have children within a couple of years. The children grow up. By the time it's 10 or 15 years, you require an additional bedroom for the children. If you have two children, perhaps you require two bedrooms. But our system doesn't provide for incremental housing. So once you buy a house, you require an additional bedroom for your son or your daughter within your house. But when they grow up, they have to go and buy a separate house. Instead of doing that, if we plan or design our buildings in such a way that the regulatory authority says, okay, today this is your plan. But what happens 25 years down the line? Is there any scope for increment? Can these people's needs with regard to space, with regard to amenities, with regard to environment be fulfilled? If the answer is yes, then it is a good plan. It needs to be approved. So the scope of the regulator needs to improve. The regulator should be the sole law giving authority to provide adequate shelter within affordable means. And for that, what needs to be done? No one grudges if the builder makes profit. Sure enough, the builder works hard, invests his money, so he should make a profit. No one wants to grudge profit to the builders. But profit making is one thing, and cheating and looting is another thing. What is happening today is cheating and looting. As I told you, 5 rupees per square feet land, 8,000 rupees is the investment, and 35,000 becomes the selling price. Now, when such things happen, is the regulator going to put his foot down and say, well, you can do it? Or is he going to say, no, you cannot do it? Today, if the electricity is sold at 5 rupees per unit, if tomorrow some private dispenser of electricity comes and says, no, I shall sell it for 25,000 rupees per unit, the regulator immediately comes and says, no, you cannot sell it for 25 because it is not affordable to people. You have to sell it for 5, or if you convince me that it needs to be improved, it could be 5 rupee 25 paise, 5 rupee 30 paise, 5 rupee 50 paise, or whatever the case may be. So the regulator has the powers to decide what price the consumer should get the commodity. Here, the commodity is a house, and the regulator has no authority. So, is RERA a good law? I asked for the RERA. I wanted a regulator. So, a regulator has come. I'm happy. But the powers that you have given him, the authority that you have given him aims and objectives, but you have not given him the powers to apply the aims and objectives. So, in cases of redevelopment, the RERA should be applicable to slum dwellers, cooperative housing society. So, every slum dweller is one of the consumers. It has to be applied to the cooperative housing society. So every member of every cooperative housing society becomes a consumer, and he can go to the RERA and ask for his rights. It should be made applicable to MADA colonies and the residents of MADA colony. It should be made applicable to all the tenants cooperative housing societies, or otherwise, even if there is a landlord-tenant relationship, and the building goes for redevelopment, then RERA should also take care of the rights of the tenants. And no landlord can just go and say, here, take your money and get lost from here, because the Maharashtra Rent Act provides certain rights to the tenants. So human rights and the rights of the people ought to be part of the RERA authority. So regulation means to ensure that the population of the state is contented. There is a good chance for them to live. There is a good environment. There is good space. There is good education. There is good means of communication. There is good. So all these things have to be provided. Either they have to be provided by the state government, or they have to be provided by the developer, or they have to be provided for by any other agency like the MMRDA, municipal corporation. So the responsibility needs to be fixed, and that is what the RERA law should be. So evolving laws, as we are saying, finally after 50 years of independence or 60 years of independence, we have finally a regulator for real estate. Now that regulatory law should evolve and should make it such that every individual who lives, like we say, roti, kapda, and makan. So makan is, I mean, stay is a part of the fundamental right. Right to live encompasses right to housing, and that has been accepted by the Supreme Court. So if our constitution provides us the fundamental right to housing, then it is absolutely essential that there should be an authority to immediately implement that right. And that authority should be the RERA. So, with new laws coming in, old laws being archaic, the MOFA Act was replaced by RERA Act. So the new law has come, and the law is inadequate. It doesn't cater to all. It doesn't take care of the concerns. It still causes problems. So there is a need for drastic reforms. There is a need for evolution of this law. Let this law be all pervasive. Let it help everyone. Let it extend itself to every individual residing in the state of Maharashtra, in urban areas, or maybe in rural areas as well. Anybody who needs housing, anybody who is sitting on land, anybody who provides the infrastructure and wherewithal for the builder to redevelop should be covered within the purview of RERA. And all the issues which are pertaining to making housing affordable to the person who needs it the most should be incorporated and made a part of the RERA. Only then can the government say that we have done something for housing for all. Only then can the government get back and say that we have done something which gives solace. And if you ask 100 people out of in Mumbai that if God were to meet them and tell them, ask one boom, I'm sure at least 99%, if not the all 100 would say, hey, give me a house. So giving a house is important, and making the house available is also important, and making the house available at a price which is affordable to the person is equally important. And the law as it stands, unfortunately, doesn't cater to the entire population. So here is an appeal. I have made this appeal to the earlier government, to the present government, to the central government as well. I was asked to make a presentation to the Niti Aayog, which I did, and they are telling me that they are working on it and they are making changes. I had a chance to speak to a group of judges who wanted to understand these laws from the perspective of an expert in urban development. I spoke to the judges as well, and they completely agree with us, but they are not the lawmakers. So now it is important that we take this message to the people. And when the people understand that this law has to be made more pervasive and the law has to cover everybody, and the people then go back to those who they elect and tell them that unless you do this, You shall not get our support or votes. And when the people at large start emphasizing of what their powers and what their rights are, right to housing, which the Constitution gives us, the Supreme Court acknowledges, it is that if the people start emphasizing, then the cities will change, the state will change, the country will change. All over the world, right to housing has been acknowledged as a basic fundamental right. So has our constitution. The Justice Krishna Iyer very lucidly mentioned several years ago in one of his judgment that right to live is there, and no living is enough unless you have a shelter above your head. So right to live encompasses right to housing. So right to housing is part of the rights given to us by our constitution. And to implement that, you need regulators. You need regulators who have powers to ensure that housing goes to the last person. You know, Gandhiji said, until every tear from every eye is wiped out, my country will not be happy. And you wipe the tear from the eyes of the people only and only when you give them proper accommodation. And RERA is a good opportunity to do that precisely. We have this opportunity, but we are not moving. It's been 3 or 4 years since RERA has come. Now it's a time to review it and say, good, we have a law. So now let us give the law teeth. Let this law not be toothless. Let this law cater to the people for whom it was meant to cater. Let us apply ourselves. So I appeal to all law graduates, all the big lawyers who are there today, all the students of law, all the professors of law, to sit together and brainstorm and make suggestions for changing in RERA so that RERA will evolve in such a way which will solve the problems of the people, not create more problems. So, law is there, we are happy, but it should be better than what it should be. And unless the law provides for accommodation to every single person within his rights. If you ask me, someone may ask me today, I think I have taken my time and I do not have much time available. But if I am told this is not within the purview of law, and here we are addressing lawyers and lawgivers, but if you ask me how every individual in the state of Maharashtra, based on what his earning is and what his capacity to pay is, how he can be given a house within his affordability, I have solutions. I have given one volume with 300 or 400 pages, 12 volumes to the government, giving complete details. I do not know what the government did with those volumes, but I got a gold medal from foreign universities for doing this research. So I'm happy. I always tell the people in government that please don't mind if I point out mistakes in what you are doing, because that's what I'm supposed to do. I go to universities abroad where they ask me what are the laws in your country and are they successful or not. So I have to do that. That is my duty. I'm doing my duty of pointing out mistakes and lacunas in your law, but I'm not happy with it. I want a situation where I want to go to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or at Oxford where I go for lectures, and tell them very clearly that my law is good. I'm happy that my country has given law which every person is happy, but that doesn't happen. So the good thinkers, the good lawyers, the person who understand law should